It's a little lag, so I'll see if it's there. Mm-mm. Okay. Well, it's saying that I'm live, but maybe I can get some feedback on whether or not I am live. Oh, okay, looks like it. It's a little lag, so I'll see if it's there. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sade Graves, Digital Innovation Leader with Jefferson County Public Schools Zone 1, and I'm here with Melissa Gano, who is the head of the Visual Arts Department, and we are going to be talking about the top visual arts projects during NTI. So, Melissa, I'm sorry, do you want to introduce yourself to our viewers today?
Sure. I'm Elisa Gano, and I'm the District K-12 Arts Instructional Lead over Dance, Theater, and Visual Arts. Been in the district, we're approaching the end of my 23rd year, so I've been around a while, and I'm happy to be here today to share what all has been going on during NTI with specifically visual arts.
Okay, great. And I just want to say before we get started that a lot of students have really been saying during NTI by doing visual arts projects at home. It's important to have the arts continue while we're at home. I know it's therapeutic for a lot of people, including adults. And so we just love our visual art teachers in JCPS.
Well, thank you. I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that.
So do you want to present your screen?
Yes. Okay.
Have you ever presented your screen before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little slow going to the share.
It's raining, so we got to stay true to JCPS, and whenever it rains, the internet will be slow.
And it's moving real slow. Okay, let me close that out and try again here.
Okay.
All right, I may have to log back into the call because it just says Google Chrome is now not responding.
Okay.
So let me close.
And while we wait, we can check out the jcps.me/NTI, which is our NTI portal that we have become so familiar with during this time. If you go to the teacher toolkit, then you can see the rest of our sessions that we have on deck for this afternoon. After Melissa presents today, we will be joined by one of our digital innovation leaders, Danielle Washburn, with one of her school digital innovation leaders, talking about coding during NTI. So that should be a very special session that we have going on as after this one, and that will be something that you may want to tune into if you are into coding, which I know a lot of people are. And then following that session, we have using Infinite Campus Messenger to contact students and guardians with Amy Mueller and Michelle Brown. So those sessions will be pretty awesome, but we have one more before we switch to on demand this afternoon. And this was a very popular session yesterday, which was JCPS Academic Reentry Plan. which was really, really popular. And today it will be led by Jenny Aberly. So those are the sessions that we have available this afternoon, and we're looking forward to being able to have you join us throughout the afternoon. And we hope to see you for the rest of the week on Thursday and Friday as we close out our virtual training schedule. Melissa, have I lost you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Hey, I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, and if you just want to click on your presentation, I see it there at the top where it says top art. Yep. And then if you just hit present, and then two last things, click that hide button and the closed captioning. Yep. Awesome.
Okay, let me make sure it was on. There we go. All righty. Okay, let me go back to the beginning here. Okay. Again, Melissa Gano here, the instructional lead for dance, theater, and visual arts, and I'm here to share with you what's been going on with visual arts in our district as well as nationally. There's a lot of specific art projects or lessons that are trending nationally, and also within our district. Those same projects have popped up. You may have seen some of them if you're on Twitter, especially, as some teachers are sharing. But during this NTI period, one of the big things all of the art teachers had to deal with was student access to art supplies. As you know, our students are in different situations, and some of them may not have had even paper and pencil. So teachers offering students choice was helpful. And then we also saw a lot of use of working with found objects and cell phone cameras as well to document the artwork that they may have been creating from student work. Another thing, people that are not versed in visual arts or haven't really made art themselves, you may have the question like, so where do ideas come from to make art? In approaching teaching art, we approach teaching art just as you would as a professional artist. Our standards are aligned with that same process. What does an artist do from beginning to end in terms of ending up with a finished artwork? So one of the big things is brainstorming, getting the idea for the artwork that is made. Now, in an art classroom setting, it may be that the teacher will help jumpstart that project with giving some ideas and some parameters in which students work around. But in most art rooms, there's a great deal of student agency, student voice and choice in terms of what that project, that artwork looks like ultimately. Art teachers, of course, refer to our visual arts curriculum frameworks and the associated curriculum plans, the specific units that are identified in the curriculum frameworks. Art teachers also turn to professional learning communities beyond their own in their school, even though many of our schools, the visual art teachers may be a singleton. I do encourage teachers and try to facilitate collaboration and working as a team in the district. I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. So if you have an idea for something, reach out to a colleague and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. Has anyone else done it? I'd love to hear your tips on how to make this lesson and learning experience successful. But teachers can also turn to, we have one National Art Education Association, the National Art Education Association, NAEA, and they have a platform that is an online professional learning community where visual arts teachers ask questions, share information. We also have a slew of Facebook art teacher groups, and I'm going to pop out of this presentation momentarily to kind of show you a document. So during this NTI period, one of the main things that was important was to create a place where the art teachers in the district could go to collaborate and share ideas and information specific to NTI could be housed. So I created a Google Drive folder for the arts teachers, and one of the documents in there was the list of all of the Facebook art teacher groups. The document that you see is a list of Facebook art teacher groups. The top 4 deal specifically with working with online learning, and then alphabetically by title of the group, you can see that there are things specific to high school, elementary, middle, teachers teaching on a cart, etc., etc. So there's that resource. At the very end as well, I have in the resources section of my presentation a link to this particular document, which includes more than 50, if I remember correctly. Yep, we're up into the 64 actually. Links to online resources from sites that help with in terms of lesson planning, to online games that could be used as part of an NTI lesson as well. So the teachers have that as a resource. But really the Facebook art teacher groups is where a lot of the ideas for successful projects during this NTI period have come from. So going back to the presentation here. Okay. Sade, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you,
Okay.
Melissa.
Just double checking. I didn't see the little thing that said I was sharing my screen.
Quick question for you. With the Facebook groups, that's just for teachers to go and gain inspiration and maybe try to see what someone else is doing?
Absolutely. Let me go back to this previous slide too. I know sometimes in terms of social media, it can be viewed as a negative thing, but particularly for visual arts, we have really utilized social media platforms as really a way to promote learning. And speaking of the National Art Education Association, they were the top Facebook art group on that list for online learning was created by one of the NAEA national board members. So it is definitely a way for teachers to get wonderful ideas. There's a sharing of documents, units, and lessons they've created. Our state standards are the same as the national standards. So any other state that has adopted those national standards for visual arts, there's a commonality and alignment. So it's pretty helpful for teachers. The other thing is, where ideas come from for creating units or lessons, what we refer to as projects in visual arts. Really looking at other artworks by artists is huge. When I was a teacher in the classroom, probably the number one way was seeing an artwork by a professional artist and saying, that's something that my kids could do. How can I take what they've done here and translate that in a way that would then become a unit or a lesson for students? The other major way, particularly at the elementary level, is books as inspiration. So we have this literacy connection where the art teacher may pick a particular book, and that will lead to the students having a particular theme for a unit or lesson, or directly taking the illustrations that may be in that book and using that as inspiration for the art projects. But we're here to find out what are those top art projects that have been going on during NTI.
And before you do that, I think there is changing views about social media. Initially people probably thought social media for educators, that's not such a good idea, but it's so easy for you to go into your classroom and close the door and not be able to see all the wonderful things that other people are doing, or right now to be at home and really be healthy at home and not be able to see what other people are doing. So those personal learning networks on Facebook or Twitter, which is one of my favorites, are very important. Even people are using Instagram now because it does give you that inspiration to be creative and collaborate with others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the Facebook because within the groups you can upload documents. So you can share documents that way,
Oh, I didn't know that.
which is not an option on Twitter or Instagram to my knowledge. So it is a helpful tool for teachers. So here during NTI, I kind of narrowed it down to 7 categories of art projects. The first being, here we are in a pandemic. So, visual arts exist primarily as a way for students to communicate, student artists, to communicate specific ideas, feelings, and emotions. It's the same way for professional artists. Art is always a reflection of either the artist's own ideas, and often they are a reflection of things that are going on in the world today. So, COVID-19, and we've seen a lot of COVID-19 making its way into art. Also working, again, I mentioned at the beginning about students that may not have paper and pencil or art materials to make art. So working with found objects around the house or outdoors has been a big inspiration for projects. The 3 big ones have been creating color wheels from found object, creating an artwork using cloth, fabric, as well as some found objects. We tend to call this right now laundry art on social media. And then found objects, nature assemblages, collecting, flowers, twigs, stones, whatever, and arranging them using compositional rules to create a very artistic, pleasing artwork. Then there's other types of photography projects during this time, which I'll get into specifically 3 of those in a few minutes. Then we have shadow drawings, and we have an artist, his last name is Ball, B-A-L, who was an inspiration, and I've seen a lot of work on the Facebook art teacher groups where teachers have used him as an inspiration. I actually included an art activity on one of the district choice boards specifically related to his work and creating shadow drawings. And then the last one is probably the most popular. It's gotten a lot of social media attention, but it's what's known as Tableau Vivants or the Getty Museum Challenge. And that's just recreating a masterpiece of artwork using yourself. So it's basically like staging. So in terms of the COVID-19 inspired artwork, again, as I said earlier, art is really a reflection of what's going on right now. And in terms of the COVID-19 inspired artwork, I know I shared with art teachers, and other teachers have received the information that the district did partner with the Fraser History Museum and created a coronavirus capsule to showcase artwork not only of students but of adults as well. Those that are watching, you can go to the schedule for this week, and you can download this PowerPoint and click on and go visit and explore to your heart's content. And see a lot of great artwork through that particular project. We've got another at the Filson Historical Society. They're doing something similar to the coronavirus capsule. And then we have a couple of national projects that are going on that are also looking to seek examples of COVID-19 inspired artwork as well. The second popular project has been creating color wheels from found objects. So in terms of a color wheel for your primary level elementary students, K through 2, based on our curriculum, the students learn the color wheel in stages until you get to the full-blown or complete color wheel that has 12 colors, primary, secondary, and intermediate colors. So depending on the age, students may have been asked just to create a color wheel with the primary and secondary, or to have done one with a complete 12 colors of the color wheel. And I've also provided some links here in this slide that Participants today can go check out a YouTube video created by a teacher nationally on how, giving guidance to students on how to create the color wheel. And then at the top, from the Teach Kids Art website, there is written instructions with also some further examples on the found object color wheel. I do want to mention that I'm going to, once I go through all 7 here, I'm going to take you to a site where I have created to showcase all 7 of these top art projects. Teachers have been able to upload student artwork to show that that's been the popular projects. The next thing is the Laundry Art Challenge, working with found objects. There's another artist. I've left it kind of blank here on the second bullet because I'm trying to track down where I found his name. I want to say he's out of DC. It's either DC or Boston. His work is pretty phenomenal as well. But there's a lot of artists that work with textiles and fabrics in a variety of ways. But in the concept of this laundry art-based projects, Derek Melander is probably one of the most famous artists. On the left, there's an example. He works with a variety of ways he's organized cloth or fabric. This is one example of his kind of compressed fabrics to create an artwork. The second image is from Guerra de la Paz. And Guerra, he creates artwork, usually trying to recreate something representational. And in this one, it was an atomic bomb going off. And this is all completely made from using scraps of clothing. And then Noah Scallon, who is a regional artist, not here in Kentucky, but elsewhere in the nation. This particular artwork may have been one of the big kickoffs to making this particular project popular, because it made its way through Facebook and Twitter early on when we went into NTI. The other found object project that's popular is the nature assemblages. So out there collecting different materials and arranging them. The whole concept of nature assemblages really has its roots in what's known as the land art movement of the 70s. And a really famous artist of that time period is Andy Goldworthy. And I'm going to take a moment here to show a video that one of our art teachers in the district created for her students when she assigned this as a choice.
It's Ms. Sexton here, and I'm going to show you guys today how to create a project really fast, right outside your door, using things that you find in nature. This is inspired by an artist named Andy Goldsworthy. He is a British artist that is really well known for his sculptures that he creates in nature. Let's look at some examples of his artwork. So sometimes these sculptures last for days, and other times they only last for hours. Nature sculpturist, is that a word? So, are you ready to make your own? Let's go!
So the teacher then goes through the process of showing the kids by demonstrating how she created an artwork. And you can watch the full video or follow Norton Art Room on Twitter. The second image here is from a current contemporary artist, Kathy Klein, who works with primarily a lot of flowers in creating her artwork. And I believe she calls her process, which is similar to a mandala, damalas. And then the third artist here is Walter Mason, also a contemporary artist as well. Okay. Other photography projects that have gained popularity is working with forced perspective. And basically, you are creating an optical illusion by making, and in this case, it looks like this particular artist with chopsticks is gathering those little balls of light and putting them in a bowl. but the light objects are further away, and he is definitely not actually holding a lighted sphere in his chopsticks. So he's using just the angle of the photograph to make it look like he's there. You may be familiar, like, for example, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. A lot of people will stand at a certain point and put their hands up like they're holding the building up from falling down. That's a type of forced perspective. Another project is the 100-Day Project up here on the top right. It's not exclusive, working with the art process of photography, but it's basically getting artists and students in the routine of creating art every day. And at Ballard High School, the photography teacher there, Lindsay Dobson, is sharing with her students modeling artistic behavior. And she's been posting an art project a day that she's created. She also has some absolutely fantastic projects. Just if you follow her and you scroll through her tweets on Twitter, you'll see lots of ideas in terms of using photography in her classroom that you can translate to projects that you may want to do. The third photography project that's gaining popularity is toy photography. It's also, in a sense, an optical illusion in terms of the angle of the photograph. Some of you may have seen, and I included a link to the video of, I believe he's 12 years old now, a child with autism, Anthony Schmidt, who is making a professional living through his photography. And he is obsessed with model cars. So he stages all of these scenes to make them look real life, as if those are human-sized proportions, but they're not. They're small model cars. You can see a correlation to this to a gentleman named Mark Hogenkamp, who was featured in the film Welcome to Marwin, where he staged, actually most of them were like war scenes, since he suffered post-traumatic stress disorder after being in the military. So the toy photography project and using optical illusion in terms of the angle of the photograph has been really popular as well. And I'm seeing a lot more pickup here at the end of the NTI period and the end of the school year. Shadow drawings, as I mentioned earlier, the artist Vincent Ball, he takes objects and has a light source from one angle to cast a shadow on paper. And then he imagines, so what does that shadow remind me of? So here you see an example. This is also a link, a hyperlink, that you can actually watch a video about Vincent Ball and his process and see multiple examples of artwork. On the right-hand side is another approach to shadow drawing, and that's just laying out paper, a small sheet, or the example here that I pulled from the Kids Activities blog, a long roll of paper. And just putting objects, having light cast from one side. You don't have to rely on sunlight. This can also be done indoors, just having a lamp, flashlight to cast that shadow. And then the student traces the shadow cast by that object and ends up and creates a scene from that. This also helps with fine motor skills at the elementary level. And then the seventh and last top art project that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention today is, of course, the most popular by a long shot nationally of an art project, and that is the Tableau Vivants, or what got kicked off during NTI, the Getty Museum Challenge. So, first of all, Tableau Vivants, it means living picture. Teachers of social studies or theater will also be familiar, because it may be shortened to tableau and be used as an activity to recreate a particular scene in history or a scene from a script. And I also have a link to the Getty Museum Challenge so that you can see a lot of the entries. I posted one of them, bottom left, from the site. And really, the Getty Museum got kicked off with this social media challenge by a group of Dutch artists, and I have a link to their Instagram site where they started this off internationally. There's literally thousands of these examples that are out there. I have center bottom of the slide and to the right 2 JCPS student examples that were created during this NTI period as well. And I'm going to pause here just for a second and take you to that site where I have asked teachers to upload, if they so desire, any artwork that's been created during this NTI period that fits one of those 7 categories. So I don't know if participants are familiar with Padlet. I love Padlet. The only thing is, the free site, you can only create 3 pads. So this is a great way to showcase student work, a virtual art gallery as well. So, for example, for the COVID-19, and participants will have a link to this Padlet to go check it out. This site is still live in the sense that teachers still have access to upload images. So we can see some of the artwork that deals with COVID-19. Some of these things have been submitted to the Fraser History Museum as part of the coronavirus capsule. But I've seen through teachers' Google Classrooms and students submitting work, hundreds of COVID-inspired work. And COVID-inspired work was also part of a couple of the district visual arts choice boards as well. Found objects with color wheels from elementary level all the way up to high school. The found object laundry art.
And Melissa, I don't want to cut you off. However, our next presenters are waiting. And so
Gotcha.
if you have any last 60-second wrap up, then we can go ahead. And we just enjoyed you so much today. I love the visual arts. I told you my son, he's really into art.
Well, again, I have a slide that has resources that you can go to. You can contact me at any time. But literally, it's just been amazing. I do encourage people to check out that Padlet to see all the work that, or I shouldn't say all, but some of the work that's been created during this NTI period in our visual arts courses.
I definitely will be checking it out. It's inspiring, even for adults. You know, like I told you before, we all need to, keep that creativity going while we're healthy at home. It just helps us to stay sane.
Absolutely. So, if any questions?
No, there weren't any questions in the chat. You just had some praise, and again, people just love the arts.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for having me on the Digital Innovation Channel.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, now at a 1 o'clock spot, I'm joined by Danielle Washburn and Nikki Walker, and they will be talking about coding beyond NTI. So, ladies, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. I am, like Sade said, Danielle Washburn, Digital Innovation Leader on the Digital Innovation Team for a high school and state agency. And I do want to say thank you to Nikki for agreeing to come on the show and to share all of your knowledge with coding. I know that you're a code.org. I say VIP, but your official title. But I'll let you go ahead and introduce all of your accolades as well. Nikki, you're on mute.
Thank you.
It's okay.
I'm Nikki Walker. I'm a computer science teacher with Wilt Elementary. I've been at Wilt for 17 years and with the district for 21 years. The last 2 years, I have jumped into the deep end with coding, specifically with code.org. Fell in love with them so much that I actually became a code.org facilitator and do provide trainings for them. And I can't wait to brag about all the cool things my kids have done this year with it and what your kids can do throughout the summer and next year.
Oh, we are super excited to hear from you.
Yes. All right. So let me go ahead and share my slides with you all.
I don't have to give Danielle any direction because she's a pro.
I know. I was going to say, this is always the awkward 20 seconds.
Yes.
Waiting to share slides. All right, let me turn on my closed captioning as well. And it's already set to large. There we go. For some reason, our first slide isn't coming up. However, let's go ahead and jump right into the next slide. And this slide talks about exactly what is coding. So just in case you have no idea what coding is, or you hear the buzzword coding, this slide gives you a brief definition of what coding is. So it is something that makes it possible for us to create computer software, apps, and websites. So when I teach a lesson with students, I always ask them, do they have a cell phone? And that gets them thinking that all of those apps that are on those cell phones, a computer programmer, someone was in the background curating those apps. And they too can create those apps as well. Not only that, but it empowers you to do many things you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So just think about even the simple term encoding of algorithms. Algorithms allows you to, can you understand directions, or can you give directions to someone and they follow it exactly how you want them to. So it empowers you to do those things. And then, most importantly, you'll be able to understand the technology shaping your world. So you can see around the screen is that we will be talking about JCPS Minecraft. We will be talking about Code.org, Girls Who Code, and Split Playgrounds today with you all. And like Nikki said, that we will be bringing you ideas that you can implement now and throughout the summer and when we get back through the school year. I just wanted to include a samurai model because I know during next year we will be talking about blended learning. Coding allows students to redefine a task. They can create those items to help someone else. I remember during STLP last year when we were doing level 3 judging, there were a lot of students curating particular apps to help someone or to solve that problem. And that is what STLP is about. And getting your students to code, getting your students to critically think, problem solve through coding, it will allow them to curate those backpack artifacts. Now I will turn it over to Nikki.
Yay. Well, for those of you who are a little apprehensive towards coding or don't know where to start, code.org is a perfect place to start. And that's where I've started and have fallen in love with coding. The 3 things I love about it and why I started with code.org before expanding out was the problem solving skills, just like Danielle brought up. Kids are, you don't see a lot of kids coming to school these days with a lot of problem solving skills. They can play on technology all day long, but getting in there and learning through making mistakes, which is what I love about code.org, because they're going to be learning by making mistakes and problem solving through how to fix the mistakes they make in their algorithms and their codes. So it's a great tool. Teaching 5th grade for 15 years, one thing I always was looking for was the master answer of how to solve that. How do we teach kids to problem solve? Code.org has been the best thing I've found so far. Also, it enforces that collaboration where students can work together, they can problem solve together, and definitely the big word innovation that we've really started to see since Backpack has come out. This allows kids to become autonomous and become creative and design things without having everybody creating the same thing. They get to be inventive and develop their own ideas and put that into code, and the projects that come out of that are so special.
I agree. When we talking about those backpack skills of being a resilient learner through coding, students definitely have to be resilient and, through debugging their code to solve that particular problem.
So it's something I want to brag about because, I can teach coding all day long, but until the kids get a hold of it, My kids at Wilt have been phenomenal. Our kids from 1st to 5th grade this year wrote over 540,000 lines of code. Very impressive. And the one group that got me the most, that has really hooked onto it and have just exploded with their skills and their talents, is our 3rd grade group. So it makes me excited to see what they're going to do as 4th graders and 5th graders, and how they'll go on through their coding, as well as the other students at Wilt, and become our future engineers and programmers and designers. They are doing impressive work. So what does code.org provide that you all could use next year or the following years, or even this summer? They offer 2 different ways of coding: the unplugged activities, which are the hands-on, away from a computer, and they also offer the plugged-in activities. Those are the online digital activities that you'll see kids doing, and they do a great job blending the 2 together. So here's some of our 2nd and 3rd graders at Wilt. They're doing 2 different activities. The top 2 pictures with the Bebot is an activity called Move It, Move It. Usually this is an activity where kids are doing it where they're standing up and moving. That's why it's called Move It, Move It. But since I have limited space in the lab to have 30 kids spread out, I thought break out the Bebots and do the same thing. So they're learning those digital skills that they need.
Professional.
Exactly. And actually, if we go to the next slide, we're going to see that K's can do it too. Our kindergartners, that's one of the big things I do with our kindergartners, is break out those Bebots, get them on the floor, get them in small groups while the others are learning their technical skills of how to use the mouse and how to use the touchpad. And then once they have a good understanding of how to use that Bebot and how to start building algorithms, we do some paper pencil activities where they're having to follow through algorithms step by step. So kindergartners can code just as much. And our kindergartners love it. They get excited when they come to the lab. And the assistants who come with them are excited too, because that's like one of the times where they can actually breathe, because they know the kids will be engaged and have fun while they're learning outside of their classroom.
Yes, and then speaking of coming to the lab, in the chat we do have Amber, and she said that our 3rd graders at Wilt love computers because of coding. So you do have a fan base in the chat as well, and there's Kelly, another teacher from Wilt Elementary.
So, well, they're definitely, the students are star students because they love getting in there and digging in there. And I know their teachers support them and give them the time. And here's some of our 3rd and 4th graders here working collaboratively on the plugged in activities. And anytime they can work together and help each other out, they definitely love it. They get to problem solve together. And it's a great learning experience. And it makes my job more fun because I see them hungry and excited to learn and engage and dig into new concepts that carry over to help them problem solve in their classroom. We even had a 4th grader when we started working on our while loops and if else loops, connected it with cause and effect in reading. So the kids make great connections carried over from their coding into their regular ed classes and just do a phenomenal job with it.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to show real quick for those who haven't been exposed to code.org that they have their lessons broken into chunks. And our kids have really worked hard from course A to course D. We're going to add in course E next year. And the one thing you'll see carried through is that digital citizenship that is a requirement to teach here in Kentucky, especially with our computer classes. And because especially now more than ever with kids learning digitally online this year and possibility of next year, they need to have those digital citizenship skills. And then those skills that they learn with the coding carry on and get deeper and deeper and deeper the farther they go.
I wish you could shout it from the rooftop that students can learn digital citizenship through code.org, because we do know that digital citizenship is important, especially like you said, during this time, during this NTI time where we're on devices. So we do have to keep our students safe, as well as students will have to know how to stay safe while on the internet.
Definitely. It's a great skill to master. I know Google put out Interland, which is another great digital citizenship tool. Also with code.org, they offer lesson plans. If you go to one of their workshops, you get a curriculum guide that will help guide teachers through the different lessons. The teacher dashboard is a humongous beneficial tool because it guides you to let you see what kids have accomplished, what skills kids are struggling with, that they might need more one-on-one help with. There's all sorts of videos put out by kids, but as well as by some of the top programmers of today. And it's just jam-packed full of useful tools that teachers can use, even teachers who have no coding experience, to jump right into. And the link up there at the top, code.org/educate/professional learning, is to allow teachers who want to sign up for a workshop. And I'll give a little hint here real quick, or a little sales pitch. The middle school and high school teachers, the application window for their training is still open, and scholarships are still available. So that's something that if you know middle school or high school teachers who need that training or would like that training, that's the website to go to get that training.
And I would like to point out that first, Code.org is approved. Thank you to all of those hardworking people that made Code.org approved for students to use in JCPS. And then two, it's free. It is free to use for everyone. It really does have a nice teacher dashboard that will allow you to keep track of what your students are completing during those lessons. And like Nikki said, that there is a large support system for elementary, middle, and high school students or teachers.
Yes, definitely. And they're quick to respond to text messages and emails if you have questions along the way. Here's one of the projects our kids worked on. Our third graders, I mean, I couldn't get them away from the sticker art projects. They were so engrossed in it, and just this is where their autonomous creativity came into effect, because each kid went a totally different direction on what they wanted to do. On the left, you'll see a finished product, although watching it as it's created is really unique. But the middle, you'll see part, that's not even all of it, but part of the code that the child wrote to develop the project on the left. But what I love about code.org, yes, they're using Blockies to develop their code. They can then pull up how their code would look like in JavaScript. And I have kids who will sit there after they develop their code for a project, they'll pull up that JavaScript translation and just sit there and study it. And that has really opened their eyes to see what they have to do in the future. And I've got several kids that just will sit there and look at it closely, and they'll grow from it. And you can tell they're starting to learn how to write that. And even with my girls who code, that's one of the things we learn to do through another website, is learn how to write JavaScript.
I agree. I just want to say that is an awesome student project that was created, and definitely, like you said, the text space and the block space. We do have Tasha Bradley in the chat, and she stated that my kids enjoy all of the coding that Ms. Walker has taught them this year, and they talk about it all the time. She has made NTI time awesome, and many have visited her Google Classroom during this time. Also, Emily said that Ms. Walker has been an amazing STC and support for us at Wilt, Teachers During NTI. So you are a true rock star.
Well, I have a great staff to work with, and they're very easy and enjoyable to work with, so they make my job so much more fun. I appreciate all of them because they are just amazing. Here's another project that we worked on, the Minecraft project, that is really cool. So those of you who want to maybe try something this summer, this is in Course C, and you can actually pull this out and don't have to do the course or the lessons before. This is a great starting point because it's a great review of everything they've learned up until that point. One thing I love is one of the videos you'll see there towards the bottom. That is, I hope I say his name right, Jens Bergenstein, who's one of the lead developers in Minecraft. And code.org is great about pulling those individuals in to create videos to engage the kids, which leads to awesome conversations about what kind of careers the kids can have later on in life if they really take time to grow these coding skills. And it really, their eyes just get real big. They get real excited, and having those videos from those lead developers helps to get them more motivated to learn. And I can actually just sit back and watch them and be a lead learner with them and learn through what they create. Then we go into the Star Wars game. This is something our 4th and 5th graders use, and we did see a few of our 5th graders use this as their backpack project this year. I wish we could have gotten further into the courses, but of course, we had to shut down in March, unfortunately, and I couldn't dig in with them a little deeper then. But they developed really cool games. In their mind, creating a video game was engaging enough. But to watch them dig in and just start experimenting with different algorithms and different codes they can create to have their game uniquely theirs was amazing to watch and very impressive. And how well you could have heard a pin drop in the room when they got into it, because they just love working on it so much. And then again, those videos, this is one of the videos they were like really oohing and awing over. That is Sharita Carter, who is a creative producer with Walt Disney. And her job at Disney is designing new amusement rides at Disney. So the kids seeing that, learning coding that can later lead me into designing actual amusement park rides was an eye-opener for them. So instead of just thinking of the basic jobs, I've got a few that's like, could I do this as my future career? So really cool activities they can get into and dig into and open their eyes to a new world of job opportunities.
And then just as a personal note, we are about finished with the Star Wars series. We just started Star Wars during this NTI time, and it is a really good series. I found myself watching it, staying up all hours of the night, just watching all of it. So
there you go. Great time to do it.
Yes.
So what I have here real quick is just how we make it backpack worthy at Wilt. I know our kids keep a Google Doc of their project. So when they get a project to a good stopping point, I don't like to say complete, because I always encourage them to go back and see how they can make their project better. That's what a programmer does. They continue to make their project even better. Minecraft keeps improving every day as a great example. So that way they have those links to their projects, and then they do a little reflective write-up. And then code.org also does certificates when you complete a course. So those are two different things that we insert into their backpack as a way of showing their hard work. Another thing that's a great activity that people can do with their students over the summer, or an easy entryway into coding, is their hour of code. You don't have to do it the week in December that hour of code takes place. You can do it anytime during the year. And I know Dance Party has become a huge hit with my girls who code. That's also an extension activity when they have a time in the lab that a lot of them love to go into. And then AI for Oceans, the artificial intelligence for oceans, is a new thing code.org added this year with their hour of code, and that's been a big hit in my lab as well.
And I added the 78% because I just want to give a big shout out to all JCPS schools. 78% of our JCPS schools participated in Hour of Code. So I just think that is huge for JCPS school. I know next year is going to be greater and bigger and better. So if you need any help implementing Hour of Code in your classroom, you can always reach out to myself or Nikki, and we will help you get started. And like we have said, you do not need devices to implement any of the coding activities.
Another thing code.org offers right now for NTI, specifically designed for NTIs, they're code breaks. They're every week, Wednesday at 1:00. So we're missing today's, but that's okay. But you'll see there are big name people that code.org bring in. It is a Zoom session, and there's been times where certain kids who have been able to do the Zoom session can interact with those people live They kind of, granted, thousands of kids are trying to get on at the same time, but it would be a cool chance to be able to listen, if not try to interact with Bill Gates or Ashton Kutcher or Vint Cerf, who is considered to be the father of the internet. So big name people Code.org is bringing in to do those code breaks during NTI. And they are recorded so students can go back and rewatch and redo the activities.
Oh, yeah. We encourage students to be able to hop on any of those calls.
A few other websites, I won't go into detail, but Grasshopper and Turtle Academy have been two big ones this year with my girls who code. Both of them are the websites that we have found that will teach them how to specifically write JavaScript. Chrome Music Lab is one that one of my girls from Girls Who Code introduced me to, and she taught the whole group, because there's 30 girls in my group, and that was using code to create music, a big one that became a big hit and definitely showed up in a few of our backpack defenses this year. Tinker, of course, has some free hour code activities, and we'll be adding Minecraft EDU, thanks James Unger, to our CS lab next year. And then there's the link again if you're interested in Code.org's workshops for this summer.
Yes, James Unger is a huge Minecraft person to have. One moment. There we go. And then along with Girls Who Code, they also have at-home activities. And if you click on this picture, you can download those free at-home activities that you can participate in. You can have your girls participate from 3rd grade through 5th grade and then 6th through 12th grade. And I just want to say, Girls Who Code, we really value sisterhood, code, and impact. And again, for numbers perspective, we have 32% active JCPS clubs. So 32% of our school have an active Girls Who Code club. So shout out if you are one of those who have an active Girls Who Code club.
And we have an active Girls Who Code club. So there's some photos from my girls. And the one on the right there has James Unger hiding in the background at the top of the staircase when he came to teach my girls how to do Minecraft EDU.
That's awesome. Another tool that you may be considering is Swift Playgrounds. And due to time, I was going to do a little tutorial, but it can be downloaded to a Mac or an iPad. And once you download it, it is addicting. I have used it. I have coded several times in the wee hours of night just because how addicting it is. Just like with any of these platforms, students can create in Swift Playgrounds. So they can create their own playground and then share it as part of those backpack artifacts. Again, it is an Apple product. It is available on the iPad or on the Mac. Another one is Spiro. With STLP, there is a Spiro Hero competition that we have, and we do know that it was tabled this year due to everything that is going on. But I do know that once we get back into school, that we will be working with Spiro, and we cannot wait to see all of those Spiro Heroes competitions submission as well. Let me get out of that. And then, any final words from you? I think we have 1 minute left.
I would just strongly encourage everyone to try coding some way, somehow. And like I said, code.org is a great way to start, very easy, even if you have no coding experience, because 3 years ago, I had no coding experience. So it was a great way to start and something to fall in love with, and kids are truly engaged with it. So old dogs can learn new tricks. I taught 21 years and I'm still learning new great things. So I encourage everybody to try some way, somehow.
I totally agree. I did not get into coding until when I actually got this job, and I learned coding and I fell in love. So now I encourage all schools to implement coding in their classroom.
Well, we
Well,
thank both of you ladies for being on the show today. Danielle and Nikki, you had so much love in the chat. Everybody just loves you. You can really tell that you've been there for a while and that you have a strong school culture and you bring a lot of value to your school community and to JCPS. It's just amazing and remarkable what you do.
Well, I'm very thankful for my staff that I work with. The Wilt is, I've jokingly called it the bubble for years because we're a family unit that's very protective of each other and work together so well, and just, you couldn't pay me enough to leave them.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you guys. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Get out and get some of this rainy, misty weather that we have going on. And yeah, so just enjoy the rest of your time. We're almost at the finish line.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Okay, so while we wait for our next presenters to join, let's check out what we have coming up next, which is going to be using Infinite Campus Messenger to contact students and student guardians. So that will come in handy for the end of this school year. I know there are a lot of people who are probably trying to contact parents about student progress or plans for the next school year. So we will look forward to hearing from Amy Mueller and Michelle Brown about using that Infinite Campus Messenger when they join us. But while we wait, we can head on over to Twitter to check out what we have going on today. We are down to, I think, about 4 or 5 days left. I'm not really sure. But keep those tweets coming at us. We want to see what's going on at the stretch of NTI. What do we have happening with the end of NTI and what you're doing in your classrooms, or what innovative practices you're learning during this NTI process that we've all been going through. Right now we have Kyle Chandler, who has tweeted out about our STC Care Community, which is happening on Thursday, May 21st, which is tomorrow at 3:30. So the Google Meet link is there for all of you STCs. We hope to see you there. I know last time we had it, it was a packed house. So many people checked in, and we hope to have that same thing happen this week. We have Natalie Smith, who is a rock star on Twitter and in real life. She has her STEAM Spotlight that she shares student projects with us often, and this is one of them. So it says STEAM Spotlight. Of course, you have a photo shoot when you upcycled materials, and this is cute. So yeah, that goes right into those visual arts that we were talking about during our 12:30 slot. A lot of students are using found media to create different art projects or STEAM projects. So that is really sweet. Natalie, thank you for sharing that with us. There's some more of those Bitmoji classrooms who have become so popular during this NTI process, and I know we'll have a couple more people presenting on that topic in the coming week. So in Thursday and Friday, which is our last 2 days of our virtual training schedule. But do not fret if you have started to get nervous that our virtual training schedule is going to be coming to a close at the end of this week. You can always go to our JCPS Digital Learning channel. You can reach that right by going to jcpsdigitallearning.com and like and subscribe that channel, and you will be alerted to any time that we put up a new video or any new content. And you can learn with the power of pause because all of these episodes that we are airing daily will be shown on the website after we have broken them up into smaller chunks. You will be able to go and view the videos at in your leisure time. So during the summer, if you're anxious to learn some new things, please know that we have many videos and many playlists that you can peruse and learn new things. Let's go back to the Hangout and see if our presenters. Oh, okay, so our presenters have not joined us yet. Let's see if we can find that is not what I wanted to do. Let me see. And thank you for bearing with me right now. I am going to check one more time to see if our presenters, and no, they're not there yet. So we will tune in to this video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to JCPS Digital Learning Live channel. I'm Elaine Abenatha, a digital innovation. Leader here in JCPS. I am joined today by JCPS Digital Learning Channel team. We have Dr. Lisa Revel. She's a specialist too for JCPS. We have Michelle Brown, a training specialist, and hopefully later Amy Mueller is here. Excuse me, Amy, and she's a training specialist. But hopefully Michelle Brown will be joining us later. So, how is everyone today?
Great.
Awesome. So today I'm going to be running the control room, and Lisa's going to be taking questions from the YouTube live chat. Make sure you drop in there, introduce yourself, as well as let us know which school or district office you're from. If you don't have the chat capability, make sure you are logged in to YouTube. And while you are there, check that subscribe button too, so you can continue to learn along with us. So without further ado, I'm going to let Amy Mueller take it away and share with us School Messenger.
Hey everyone, we'll talk about School Messenger today, and I'm going to switch over to show you some slides and share some information about School Messenger. Okay, does everybody see my Google Slides?
Looks great.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and begin then. And share my. Okay. School Messenger, we're going to talk a little bit about School Messenger. School Messenger replaces One Call Now and is our phone, email, and messaging system used by JCPS to communicate school cancellations, safety alerts, and other important information. School Messenger is used by district office to share that information, as well as specific school staff, such as administrator or administrator designee. And again, it replaces our previous system now. A lot of people had opted in to One Call Now and received school alerts from One Call. However, just because they were receiving school alerts from One Call Now does not mean they're going to receive them from School Messenger. There are some extra steps that need to be taken. How do you receive messages? As far as parents and guardians, so if you're a parent or a guardian, your email address will be in Infinite Campus, and School Messenger pulls from Infinite Campus and receives that information. So when district office or school staff sends messages on behalf of School Messenger, folks will automatically receive it on email because they're marked as guardian of a student, a JCPS student. As far as text messages go, you will have to actually text Y to 67587 on your cell phone, and it will have to be the cell phone that is stored under your information in Infinite Campus as attached to a student that you are the guardian of. As far as staff goes, they will also receive emails. Staff emails come from our Munis system and not from Infinite Campus. So you will automatically receive those, and it'll be your JCPS email. As far as text messages go, in order for JCPS staff to receive text messages from School Messenger, you must either download the app or set up an account at go.schoolmessenger.com. We recommend everybody download the app, and we'll be sharing a picture of the app here in just a moment. Then you'll need to text Y to 67587. When you download the app or go to go.schoolmessenger.com, you'll need to the phone number that you wish to receive phone calls and or text alerts from. After that, you will text Y to 67587. If you text Y to 67587 prior to adding that information, you will not receive any information. So this is a little bit of information about how to receive messages from School Messenger. I mentioned the app. This is a picture of what the app looks like. There is a blue app and there is a yellow app. It's important that you download the correct app. The blue School Messenger app is for end users to manage School Messenger account preferences, email address, and phone number you wish to receive messages from. The yellow School Messenger app is only for school or district staff who want to send messages. So unless you are a JCPS staff, such as an administrator or an administrator designee, that without messages from School Messenger, you do not need the yellow app. The blue app, however, we recommend everybody and is a great way to keep a log of all the messages received from either district or school personnel. While on the screen, I also want to point out Infinite Campus app. Notice the black box with the P in it. This is the new parent portal app. There's a new student app as well that is separate from that. So anybody that had the previous version of the Infinite Campus app should remove those and go to the App Store to download the new apps. Again, there is a separate one for parents and students. When downloading this, you'll want to make sure you put in Jefferson County Public Schools as your district. There is no longer a special code or anything needed for downloading the app on your smart device, and it's available for Android or for Apple. In addition, there is a new JCPS app. Notice the white box with the JCPS, and that basically gives you the information you get from the JCPS website. And so this is now available for downloading if you go to Google Play or you go to the App Store. And so you can download that and get everything you get from the JCPS website. This is recommended for everybody as well. So this is a little bit of information about the apps. Remember, the blue app is what you want for any. The blue app is the one that's available for everybody. As far as School Messenger goes, there are the users and there are the people that receive the messages. If there is somebody from a school that needs to be able to send messages via School Messenger, again, this is going to be principal or principal designee. You can sign up on PD Central. It must first be approved by an administrator. And the first thing that needs to happen is each person that needs to send messages on School Messenger needs to be approved by an administrator. If it's district staff, it needs to be approved by the district administrator within your department. If it's within a school, then it needs to be approved by the school administrator, the principal, or the assistant principal. The principal will open a Land-S ticket via jcps.me/help. And then you can look on PD Central or contact me, Amy Mueller, or Michelle Brown for training at 485-30. Users can either come to an instructor-led training or we can hold training over the phone. We can go into people's machines and see what they're doing and be able to administer training that way. So we're happy to help. It's a fairly intuitive system. We feel like it is, once you send a couple messages, it is easy to be able to follow through and remember, and you can save messages for future use. It's important to know that School Messenger is not a teacher messenger. It's Infinite Campus. It's separate than Infinite Campus, although it does pull information from Infinite Campus. So it is not used by teachers to send messages. There is a messenger within Infinite Campus, however, that can be used. And we are happy to walk anybody through how to use those messages within Infinite Campus. The Infinite Campus Messenger does not send text messages, though. It is strictly email-based. Again, you can contact Michelle Brown or Amy Mueller for information on using the Infinite Campus Messenger. More information on Campus Messenger. A lot of people have been asking about this lately. There are actually 3 types of messages that can be sent from the Infinite Campus Messenger. To access the Infinite Campus Messenger within the Infinite Campus gradebook area, which is called Campus Instruction, teachers will go to the Message Center and click New. There is a separate message center, there's actually a separate messenger rather, that's in Infinite Campus on the other side, which is called Campus Tools, that other staff has access to, such as principals, assistant principals, clerks, and so forth that can be sent. If anybody's received a message from an email address called IC Mailer, this came from the Infinite Campus Messenger. Again, it is not the same as the school messenger. If you want to learn more information about that, besides being able to contact Michelle Brown or Amy Mueller, users can also go to Custom Links and Reports. Teachers can go to Custom Links and Reports from within Campus Instruction. And there are actually 3 YouTube videos. There is one on the Grades Messenger. There's one on the Missing Assignment Messenger. And there's one on the Regular Teacher Messenger, where you can send a newsletter or other information about your class or classes. And it will go out to the email address of students and or students' guardians. Again, there's 3 videos in there. There's also a link within Custom Links and Reports called Custom Documents, where you can access various documentation on Infinite Campus, including Gradebook and the Messenger tools. So this is all under Custom Links and Reports from within Infinite Campus. Again, school teachers will not use School Messenger to send messages. Rather, they will use the Infinite Campus Messenger. It is important that everybody opt in to the School Messenger in order to receive important updates. If you haven't opted in, you will not receive text messages when things like school closings, or if your school wants to send something out about important events at school or late buses or anything of that sort. So that's a little bit about the School Messenger and how all of that operates. Do we have any questions?
Well, there's a lot of, I can't imagine not having this capability in a district this big. So this is huge for us to be able to communicate with one another. Of course, now just to make sure I clarify this, Amy, and welcome, Michelle. I'm glad to have you here. But it's one-way communication. Am I correct? It's not a two-way, so parents cannot contact the opposite direction or teachers cannot. Is that correct?
That is a great question. And when a school sends out messages, if it is an email from School Messenger, there is a way to put a reply email, and schools can choose whether or not that reply email is going to be a I don't know what it's called, a non-bounce back or something like that, where nobody receives it, or whether it will go to a school administrator or an email address that's monitored. That is a school decision on who those return messages will go to. So schools, parents, and or staff can receive messages from School Messenger that are email-based, and then depending on able to receive responses and send responses. The text messages are just alerts. They cannot do a reply.
So I have another question.
Sure.
Can you set special groups for this type of, so the teachers can obviously text message there or email there through the Messenger and Infinite Campus,
Right.
their roster. But if I was a principal and I wanted to only alert fourth graders for a certain thing, is there a way that the admin can set that up?
Absolutely. There are a lot of groups. Anybody at a school level that's used to ad hoc things where they can do rule-based groups, they can upload groups. So let's say a school wanted to notify only PTA members. They could get a group called PTA and upload those PTA. Or schools can do only fourth graders or only fifth graders. Say they have the showcase schools and they want to notify only fourth and fifth graders that the showcase of schools is happening, or any kind of message like that. They can do any kind of groups, beta club, athletics, whatever they want to do. They can create their own.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but to me, I'm sold on it. And it's definitely something that sounds like a valuable tool for our district. So I'm excited that we have this. So I don't know if there's any other questions on the YouTube chat, but I think this was a great show. It's definitely informative. But Lisa, can you do me a favor and share how people can stay connected to the JCPS Digital Learning Channel?
Yeah, so they can stay connected by going to help me out here.
The website, yes. Oh, it's okay. It's www.jcpsdigitallearning.com. We recently have changed it. Of course, if you go to the other one that was a different address, it'll take you to the same spot. And there too, you can actually get on-demand video support if you subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notifications when we have upcoming shows as well. So those also will be live if you click that subscribe button. And of course, there's that special hashtag on Twitter, which is hashtag JCPS Digital Learning. And make sure that you contribute to that if you've got something that's your class or your school is doing to awesomely impact the digital learning here in JCPS or even outside the JCPS school district. So I hope everybody has a great day. And thank you, Amy and Michelle. I'm really glad, and Lisa, that you guys all joined.
Okay, guys, so that was our 1:30 session, and we are going to start our 2 o'clock session shortly. Let's check our schedule again. We can go to jcps.me/NTI, and that will take us to the NTI website. Again, I know so many people have become familiar with that NTI portal, as it is kind of like the anchor for our NTI work that we've been doing across the district. So while you are on the NTI portal, you will go to the instructional toolkit, and that digital learning schedule is linked right there. And again, we have 2 more days of fantastic sessions planned for everyone. So if you are still looking for some last minute learning to progress yourself during this NTI period, you can go to jcps.me/NTI and have access to the schedule. So today we are Wednesday, May 20th, and we are at our 2 o'clock session here shortly. And we are going to be looking at the JCPS Academic Reentry Plan, Module 1. Yesterday, we had lots of AICs and lots of other district employees joining us in the chat. I hope that we have that same amount of people here today, because this is a very thought-provoking session that we have coming up at 2 o'clock. There's a lot of us to think about, a lot of things for us to think about as we plan for our instruction in the fall, and as we start to think about how we can best serve students as they re-enter our schools. So we have that session coming up at 2 o'clock. Then we have NTI exemplars, which again, that is awesome for us to be able to see that all of this hard work that has been going on throughout the last 6-7 weeks has been something that has been beneficial for students, and we would love to see those NTI exemplars coming up at 2:30. And then our last 2 sessions are actually available on demand, and you can find on-demand sessions again by going to jcps.me /NTI, and right in that same instructional toolkit, you will find on-demand video support. And if you click on that, it will take you to jcpsdigitallearning.com. And if you are not subscribed, go ahead and do that, because even though our virtual training schedule ends on Friday, the learning does not stop. And as you can see by clicking on videos, there are hundreds of videos here for you to continue to learn and grow as an educator, as a professional, to give you ease of use while you are using our JCPS Digital Learning website. You can, instead of going to videos, go to playlist. And then in the playlist, you can narrow down what you are looking for by selecting the playlist where you will most likely find that session or episode. So if I were a middle or high school teacher and I really wanted to use Edmentum tools in my instruction, I could go to the Edmentum playlist, and all of the videos that focus on Edmentum would be right there in that playlist. And we have actually compiled an NTI playlist. So all of these sessions that have been going on for the past 6 weeks are actually in a playlist, all chopped up into smaller chunks, so that you don't have to watch the entire 6 hours or the entire 3 hours of the morning session or afternoon session. You can just find those videos that you want to see the most. And so that on-demand training will be there available for you throughout the summer, and you will be able to continue to learn and grow as educators. One last thing to check before we get to our 2 o'clock session. Let's go back to Twitter and see if there's anything new here. I'm really excited and I'm ready to hear from these ladies about the academic reentry plan. Oh, look at that. First thing that comes up from our digital innovation leader, Kathleen Receiver, who is with Zone 2 schools. She is sending this yes card to the Blue Lick staff. It says, "Thank you for saying yes and digging in this school year. I have enjoyed working with you this year and look forward to next year's collaboration." If you are a teacher or any principal, counselor, whoever is working in JCPS, and you want to send out a yes card for the end of the school year, please feel free to do that. I know a lot of teachers are allowing students to say nice things about their peers for the end of the school year. So it will be awesome for us as educators to also send some love to each other as we wrap up this NTI period. Let's check one last thing. Couple more minutes left before our next session. Again, we have some more Bitmoji classrooms. We had a wonderful session this morning about Bitmoji classrooms, and a lot of people are creating these Bitmoji classrooms. I see that Miss Snyder, Tara Snyder, is actually looking at the NTI support video teaching guided reading remotely in her Bitmoji classroom. So shout out to Tara. That's really nice. And let's head on over and see if our presenters are with us. Yay, Susan, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're so excited to hear from you all. Yesterday, I know we had a lot of people in the chat really thinking about how we're going to do this reentry plan. And, I was just thinking about it this morning. I'm like, wow, that was a lot. But I'm so excited I get to hear it again so that I could absorb it even more than I did yesterday.
So are we live?
Yes, we're live.
Okay. Awesome. Well, my name is Susan Price. I am the Executive Director for Curriculum Design and Learning Innovation, and I'm honored to have with me today Jenny Aberly. Jenny is our instructional lead for high school for ELA. She's actually going to be driving our presentation, and so Jenny, we're ready if you want to put the slide up.
Looks like Jenny is ready to go.
Should I be able to see that?
Do you see it now? I have it.
No, I don't see it. I just see myself, which is not always pleasant.
Do you, at the bottom of the Hangout, do you see
Yeah.
where Jenny's slide is?
Yes, I've
If you
got it.
click
Okay.
on that, you got it now?
Okay, yeah, we're
Okay.
ready. Okay, so everyone, thank you again for being here today. We know that, and we certainly hope that students will be coming into JCPS schools really soon. And what we know is we want to ensure that they are successful when they come in. So we are following just guidance from KDE. And through that guidance, JCPS has developed a reentry plan. So really, the purpose of our reentry plan is to support planning for a successful reentry into schools. We're just going to outline the district support that will be provided during our reentry planning. We know that this process takes into account, a significant portion of spring was spent in NTI. And so this is just, for principals to consider. This is guidance when planning for the 2021 school year and maybe how that will impact their professional development plans. But what we know is, we already know that teachers and principals are already planning for next year. So really what we're doing is just refining that a bit, because we know that that's really common practice when every year we are, looking at our students holistically. We're refining our curriculum and instruction plans for next year, focusing always on the learner and what the learner needs. So really we are redesigning to ensure that our learners are successful as they enter in. So we know, as this is going to be unique, challenging. We're going to have new norms. We know that we're, going to have some learning gaps. So really, we're here to just go over module 1 is the overview of the entire process, and let you know the professional learning opportunities that are going to be available and how JCPS teaching and learning can support. Jenny?
Thanks, Susan, for that introduction. As we start to walk through the plan, if you have any questions, please place them in the chat box, and hopefully some of my CDLI colleagues will be in there to help get those answered. And I believe we'll have some time at the end to respond as well. So this is our overview of the PD plan around this work. The purpose of today's module, which is module 1, is to give you an overview of the guidance that we have from KDE around academic reentry and how we plan to respond to that in JCPS. You'll see right now that we're in module 1. That's the general overview, and that's the first of 3 different modules. If we look at it this way, we stretch that graphic organizer out into a timeline. And we are on module 1 this week. We're going to be presenting here on the Digital Learning channel both tomorrow and Friday. Then on Friday, we have an academic instructional coach meeting, and we will roll out module 2 to them. And then we will continue that work as we go into the summer. We'll provide some specific PD for teachers that are content specific. And then we'll be working on module 3 so that you'll have that before school starts. And so that'll come later in the summer.
Yeah. So now we know that schools all operate uniquely. And so we wanted to provide options for who would be leading this work in your schools. So it could be your AICs, it could be, your school support staff, teacher leaders, your instructional leadership team, department chairs, APs. We know that this is going to be an awesome opportunity for collaboration within your schools, but we, knew that it would be best if schools decided who is going to be leading that work in their schools. So those are just some options. It can be anyone else you choose. Those were just some options that we were throwing out there. Jenny?
So this slide is about academic reentry. We want to start thinking now about how we set our students up to transition back into the fall in a way that's going to
support their academic success and put them at the center of the learning. So we know that due to this extended remote learning, that there are going to be potential inequities there, and there are going to be gaps in student learning and understanding of grade level standards, because quite frankly, some of our teachers may not have been able to get to some of the standards due to this time. So we're following their guidance on that, and we see that coming across in a couple of different stages. So we've prepared 2 modules for teachers to use during this time. Module 2 should actually occur before the start of the school year. And we'll talk in more detail about this stage in the next slide. But this is where teachers will assess learning gaps that exist, and then they will make plans for adjusting their curriculum and instructional plans for the 2021 school year based on that. This is the module that we're going to start sharing on Friday with academic instructional coaches, and then we're also going to be offering sessions for teachers to join in following that a couple of weeks after Friday. And then our module 3 will be used once teachers have a high-level overview and an adjusted curriculum or instructional plan in place. The module 3 is the more of the day-to-day, week-to-week formative assessments that are going to help inform those instructional decisions as teachers move throughout the school year. One thing we really want to be careful about, especially in this time, is that we don't just assume students didn't get things and start putting them in tier 2 interventions. Because the truth is that because of NTI, it might be that students just have not had the opportunity to have exposure to or to interact with some of those grade level standards. So they're going to need some extra time and support at the classroom level to get those opportunities. And that's going to be why Module 3 is so important, and that training will come later in the summer.
And Jenny, we also know that before we move into the next slide that, we can plan and we always have our best laid plans, but we know that, in the fall, we're going to have a brand new group of students. So you're right. That is why Module 3 is going to be so important, because, we spend the first couple weeks really getting to know our students. And so being able to have those, formative assessments so that we, really understand where students are, that at that time we still may need to make some readjustments to our curriculum. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thanks, Susan. And also the fact that assessments look very different.
Absolutely.
Lots of different options there for teachers. Yes. So here's what our academic reentry module 2 is going to look like. We see it occurring in 3 different steps or actions. So for action 1, this is where really it's individual teacher work to identify those potential time savers and gaps in the curriculum. Every year we enrich our curriculum and we have the flexibility to really add in the pieces that we would love. However, the reality is that we are in this unique situation in the upcoming school year where we really have to be intentional and tighten up what we teach to make sure that we carve out time to address those potential learning gaps and those things that maybe teachers haven't been able to cover or work on with students during this NTI time. So during action 1, that's where teachers are really reflecting on what did I teach and what hasn't been covered this year. So once those grade level teams have identified the potential time that they need and where those learning gaps exist, then they can really start to think about what they can cover for that next school year. Susan? Were you going to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Were there standards that you didn't have the opportunity to get to? Think about the choice boards. Some students could have used those choice boards and built up their skills through that platform. For example, every choice board had standards aligned to it. And if students were choosing activities from the choice boards that were more project-based or learner-centered, they were learning those standards. All of your kids may not have had options of the choice boards depending on how teachers chose to move forward with NTI. So we've got to think about all of our students and how they're going to be in different places. And so essentially we've got to think about where can we save time next year? Where are the learning gaps and what are the essential standards and concepts that we need to teach? So the better job that teams do or teachers do in action 1, the smoother actions 2 and 3 will go. So action 1 is a teacher looking at what they taught, what they didn't teach, where those gaps of instructional lessons may have happened. And then in action 2, that's where vertical conversations within a school really start to happen. That's where grade level teams analyze the information brought from the individual teachers in action 1, and they start having those vertical conversations with the grade level above and the grade level below. A great example that Lacey used yesterday was with her third grader. Her daughter is in 3rd grade, and she says, you know, if she's a 3rd grade teacher, then she's going to meet down with the 2nd grade team, and they are going to share with her what they think it is students might come in next year with the learning gaps. And then she's also going to meet with the 4th grade team to talk about where those learning gaps might have happened in 3rd grade. So really we're talking up and down with the grade levels above and below us. And it's not just about sharing a form that we fill out. It's about having those deep conversations and discussions about what that is that we need to focus on. And then finally, action 3 is taking all of this work that we've done in action 1 and action 2, and those grade level teams are going to come back together and draft this adjusted curriculum or instructional plan for the 2021 school year. And really thinking about how we can spiral in or scaffold up and personalize those learning opportunities for students so that we can make sure that they're having access to all of the things that they need to have. So in some cases, there may be things that teachers love to teach, but they really aren't necessary, and we've got to make time for what's necessary. This is a lot. Module 2 will be much more detailed with templates, examples, and support, and we'll have a lot of resources that teachers can choose to use as they think about academic reentry and looking at that work.
And Jenny, I think, when we're talking about the academic action 3, when we're, looking at that draft adjusted curriculum, that is a perfect opportunity when teachers are collaborating to really talk about those success skills and how are we going to ensure that we are, working in, the success skills, that we have opportunities in that adjusted curriculum for, time built in for students to create backpack artifacts. So we know this is just a really great opportunity to bring really it all together to ensure that learner-centered curriculum is how we're moving forward. All right. Thanks.
That's right, Susan. So on the next few slides, we have some training dates here. These are the dates that teachers can access, principals, assistant principals, whomever. These are for elementary, and there are links there to the Zooms and the times. And then we have middle school dates. You'll notice that they're broken out by math, science, ELA, and social studies. So that gives us a chance to really focus in on the content. And then there are high school dates and times as well with Zoom links. So module 3, once teachers have done an amazing job with their PLCs and their work in module 2, this is where teachers will use pre-assessments, a variety of types of assessments, and formative assessments to inform those instructional decisions, to get more information on where students are and where they need some more support. So this has not been designed yet. KDE hasn't even released their version yet, but once we have that, we will work on designing this module 3 for teachers. So beyond the modules, after we've really thought about what we need to focus in on and teach, We will be offering continual support to PLCs and to schools around this work, some professional learning for AICs, content specific, and our team will be there to support teachers all along the way. Next steps, as schools and principals think about this, schools need to identify who's going to help lead this work of academic reentry for their school, having somebody to really help organize it at the school level. The building principal might need to set up expectations, protecting time for teachers to do the work. Perhaps there might need to be some school-wide systems for the work, or leaving that up to different PLCs or departments. Will instructional coaches or teacher leaders or department chairs facilitate the work by different grade levels or departments? And then, of course, our district CDLI team is always here to support and help teachers in whatever way that we can. Also thinking about time, where is that time going to come in? We know that we're close to the end of the school year, and I'm sure everyone's looking forward to summer. But we also know the reality is, while we all need a little break, we also start thinking about the next year. So it's good to have these tools now so that teachers can be thinking about what that entry into fall is going to look like. And so we're very grateful for your time today around this. And I can't see the chat box, so I don't know what's going on there. So are there questions that Susan and I can address?
Well, the team has been in the chat, and they have been answering the questions that a few participants had. I know there was a question about the curriculum frameworks and when those will be available for the next school year, but Jessica and Stacy both gave that answer to the person that was in the chat asking that question. And so it looks like everything has been taken care of in the chat, and just a lively conversation about what this means for us as we come back, and how it's going to impact everyone as we move forward with the next school year.
Okay, well, are there any more questions that we can answer? And again, I just really want to stress that, we have built these modules around the word guidance. And so, this is not a recipe for how you have to exactly design reentry as you are moving forward for your students. But these are helpful steps and really guidance around that. And so we know that the most important thing, again, about students coming back to school are the students and the learners. And I also think this is going to be a great opportunity for teachers to have those vertical conversations. It's really going to help us, with really digging deep with our standards. I've also thought about, in Action 3, what a great time to be able to, bundle standards, design a PBL, where you can incorporate standards and you can integrate your curriculum. So those are just ways that in step 3 that schools and teachers are going to be able to be creative as we are designing for that reentry.
I know a lot of people, when NTI first started, was thinking of it as a challenge, but then as NTI went on, it became more of an opportunity for growth. So I really believe that this re-entry plan, while it looks something like a little bit of a challenge right now, as we begin to develop the plans and as teachers come back to their schools, they'll again see this as an opportunity to, like you said, have those conversations with the vertical teams and see where there are some gaps and how we can best meet the needs of the students.
Absolutely.
Well, you're right. I don't think we always take the time that we need to have those conversations below and above. And I think this is going to really give teachers the chance and the place to start having those conversations.
I have a question for you, ladies, and I don't know if you all can answer it for me, but how do you suggest that those schools that have a high turnover rate, or people who are having a lot of teachers transfer and have new people come in, how can they have those conversations if not those teachers weren't necessarily there and they don't really know what the students missed out on, what would you suggest then? I know that's a loaded question.
No, I mean, I think first of all, when teachers are new into PLCs, that, teachers are always gracious to welcome, those new members of their PLCs and new teachers. And I think it's just going to be, really taking some time with new members on the staff and, new to the grade level to really just sit down and have conversations with them about the curriculum and about where we're moving and about, just really all the things, that, make you a successful teacher. But, I do see it as a new teacher coming in, how this would be really overwhelming. But I think, PLC support and moving this work forward will be key in helping with those transitions. Jenny, you may have some very different ideas.
No, that's true. And the beauty of this is if a teacher doesn't get hired until late July or early August, and a lot of these conversations have happened, that's okay, because this will be work that happens and it's ongoing throughout the year. So while it's great if teachers can get a bulk of the process of this work done up front so that they can plan for the year, there are always going to be opportunities to continue the discussion. And there's probably going to have to be a plan B at some point if whether or not we start in buildings or not in buildings, and then we go. So there are going to be lots of opportunities that teachers will have to talk and discuss and maybe have to step back and think things through a little differently than they had planned for.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people will probably be using the MAP data as well, because that's another, indicator of what students need a little bit more instruction on too. So that might be helpful for our teachers and our schools.
Yeah, we are planning, we are currently in the planning stage with NWA about, how we are going to support professional learning for teachers for MAP for the 2021 school year. So, yeah, I mean, we're always designing and redesigning based on our students. And, I think in really wrapping up, this isn't a time that for the first 6 weeks, we want to just say, oh, these are the learning gaps and these are the standards that students didn't get, and try to, get all those standards in the first 6 weeks, because we know, that there are standards that go across the year. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be, that's part of purposeful planning, is so that teachers know, I don't have to teach all of this the first 6 weeks, because you can look at coherence maps, you'll be able to look at the frameworks. And so those will really provide direction in how you design and redesign curriculum based on your learner needs.
Yeah, well, I thank you guys for joining us today, and I look forward again to another session tomorrow, right? Same time?
Yeah,
okay,
same time.
Great. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of
people.
Yeah, the viewership will continue to grow, because I know this is a hot topic right now. We're trying to figure out what to do, what's best for students.
Hey, we move from choice boards and we go to PBLs and competency based, and
you
now we're
all are the rock stars, I swear.
Yeah, hashtag CDLI on the move.
Yes. Well, thank you again, ladies, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. As we wait for our 2:30 session, let's see who we have next. We have NTI Exemplars with Joe McKim, Maddie Shepard, and Suzanne Kramer. So that should prove to be a very interesting session. I would love to see some work that students have done during this time, or work that teachers have done around their NTI planning during this time. It's all so fascinating how we've taken this opportunity to learn and grow as educators and help our students learn and grow. So we have NTI Exemplars at 2:30. And then our next two sessions are on-demand sessions. One is Innovative Digital Leadership, which was the first episode of that series, which is really engaging. If you have not had a chance to watch those sessions, we have a series of JCPS principals who have given us some insights on how their staff has seized the opportunity during NTI to really be innovative and really be forward thinking with their instruction and the leadership that was given to them by their school principals. And then our last on-demand session of the day is voiceovers in Google Slides, and that is, I believe, with our amazing digital innovation leaders for middle school, Miracle Middle School, Elaine Abanatha, and you can catch both of those on demand. If you want to know how to get to the on-demand videos, you can go back to jcps.me/NTI and land on the teacher toolkit. There you will go to on-demand video support, and you will reach our JCPS Digital Learning channel. As I've said before and will say many times, this is a wonderful place for teachers who are not only trying to learn during NTI, but are also trying to keep that learning going throughout the summer and throughout the coming school years. So when you land on this page, you will always see any live sessions that we have going on, and that is our live session that we are currently in right now. But if you're not interested in that, you can navigate to videos, and there we have hundreds of videos at your fingertips, and you can learn with the power of pause. And those episodes are on a range of topics. You'll see that they are uploaded daily. Every time we have a live day, we have been going in and breaking up those 2.5 or 3 hour sessions into smaller chunks so that you can get just the pieces that you need. So you can browse the videos by going to videos, or if you want to get really specific with what you're looking for, you can go to playlists. Now, I like to browse by playlists because the playlists show videos by their topic. So if you're a science teacher, you might be interested in seeing the science teacher playlist. If you're a related arts teacher, you might be interested in looking at those videos. STC videos, math teacher videos, English teacher videos. There are so many videos here, and like I said, if you're just looking to learn about something new in the coming days to finish out NTI, or if one of your goals for the summer is to teach yourself something new that you're going to implement for the upcoming school year, then you can go to those on-demand videos and find support right at your fingertips. And the thing that I love about it most is you have the power of pause. So if you are watching a 30-minute video and you need to go back and watch a little piece of it because you didn't quite understand what you were hearing, then you can fast forward, rewind, look at it with the transcript open, which is one of my favorite things to do, and you can get your learn on. So let's head over to Twitter and see what we have going on with our JCPS DI Twitter. If you are not following this account, go to Twitter and go to @JCPSDI, which stands for Digital Innovation, and you can follow us there. We are very interactive with our followers or our fans. We love, love, love hearing from you guys and seeing all the wonderful things that you are doing in your classroom or during this NTI process. Or if you learned something and you want to share it with us, please do so. We're always interested in learning new things, and with teachers being right there on the ground, a lot of times they can learn something that we don't know. So share that with us here, and always use the hashtag JCPSDigIn, which again stands for JCPS Digital Innovation. So if I search that hashtag JCPSDigIn, then I can see who is the latest person to share with us. So we have Kathleen Receiver, who sent a yes card to her school at Blue Lick, which Kathleen, if you don't know, is our digital innovation leader for Zone 2 schools, Zone 2 crew, as she would say. And she has shared a yes card with the Blue Lick staff. And it says, thank you for saying yes and digging in this school year. I have enjoyed working with you this school year and look forward to next year's collaboration. So again, like I said in our last half hour, if you are interested in sending one of those yes cards to someone who you are really appreciative of during this NTI time, go ahead and do so. We have a lot of teachers who are providing feedback for their students and giving them shout outs toward the end of the year. And you know what? Teachers need shout outs too. Not just teachers, but counselors and principals and everyone who has made this NTI work that we've been doing for the last 6 or 7 weeks a success. One last thing before we get into our 2:30 session, I want to say that we have over 600 people registered for Kentucky Go Digital's digital event. And if you're not one of those people who's registered, go ahead and get registered for that. If you're looking for some summer learning, but Corona has you bummed because most of the in-person opportunities have been canceled, this is your event. And last year I went to Kentucky Go Digital, our session that was held at Bellarmine. It was super awesome, so you don't want to miss out. So it is just about 2:30. Let's get on over to our next episode, which is NTI exemplars, and we are going to find that episode. Thank you for bearing with me. And this was a really powerful session, and so I want everybody to enjoy it.
I teach second grade at Atkinson Elementary. This is my 3rd year there, and also want to give a shout out to my coworkers and my team, because we would not have as much success without everyone being a part of this. So first of all, second grade, you have to think about your audience, who you're going to be working with. I work with 7 and 8-year-olds who are not as independent with technology as maybe middle schoolers and high schoolers. They had experience in Google Classroom previously in my room, but getting them independently, their long emails, getting them type that in, we knew that was going to kind of be a point of frustration for them. Also, who are they living with? Who's going to be helping them? They live with grandparents, they live with great-grandparents, and even family members who might not have had as much exposure to technology as well. So we streamlined our second grade work all into one place. I haven't shared this other times, but keeping everything in one place for a 7-year-old was really important too, because that, if they only have to go to one place and click and it takes them directly where they're supposed to go, that's very helpful with not giving them that extra distraction of going to watch music videos on YouTube or wherever they might actually want to go rather than doing their schoolwork. So in their slide, which I'll show you in a minute, this is their first page that they get. This is something all of our staff is using. It's similar to a choice board. So if you have a kid who loves reading, decides, I want to do all my reading the first day, they have that option where they could go in a horizontal direction if they want to do all their reading or all their science. Now, in the vertical direction is set up to be structured like their school day. So we wanted to think about how we can.
You're freezing up a little bit, but that's okay. Keep going. It should be fine.
Their slides. When it apologize. We go through their slides. You'll see all the things that say click here. We'll take them to a direct slide where they type in their answers and they do their work. So those would be set up in their normal school day setting. Need that structure and crave that structure as well. We've got their reminders. I keep all their passwords on here. You'll see down next is that learning at home, which hyperlinks to all of these things. So it starts on Monday. and they have different activities for each day. So we'll just kind of look through that for a second. I'm a visual learner, so I wanted you to kind of see how it's set up. And this will also stay on the document, so you're welcome to use this as a resource. All right, going back to the original slide. Every single day in my classroom, I have a question of the day. When they come in, they hang up their backpack, I have a question on the board. And it's really just a way that I get to know my students better, or kind of find out things that might be going on at home that I wouldn't know had I just be like, okay, good morning, let's get to work. So that was important for me to make that a part of NTI. So there's little emojis on the side, and the students can drag and drop their emoji and they're 7, so they think that's cool, that they feel like they're texting, and they can type to me why they feel that way. So I've had students tell me, that they're sad, or that they don't want to do their work right now, they'd rather be outside, or they'll tell me really exciting things like, hey, like I got a new scooter today, and it's been a great way for me to connect. And those students who have experienced frustration, I can kind of type back a message like, hey, you're doing a great job. I had a student last night, and he was like, I like this page. It's the only page I know I've gotten right. And I was able to write back to him like, you've done great. Like, your math looks amazing. So hopefully it was an encouragement to him. It's just kind of one of those things where they can put out their frustration. On the next slide, I put in some images of our slides, and for their reading, we just have them answer a simple question so we know that they've read it. All of their writing, we put on their sentence stems because that might be a support that most of them have in the classroom. So I know one of our things this week was like, you need to have 3 sections in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. And we'll write on there, we need to see more than one sentence so that our expectations are clear. And with this being in Google Slides, I've been able to go in and highlight like, hey, you need to go back and fix this, or can you add punctuation? Lastly, in the corner, you'll see we've added in visual cues, just because they are young, and sometimes things might not work. This was a link I was having trouble with. It worked for some people, didn't work for others. So I went in using the snipping tool and showed them, if you can't get this to work, this is exactly what you need to do to get to this website. And my students, because they have enough visuals, it's all in one place, and they're kind of in the swing of things now, they're independently logging in and doing this on their own. Out of my 15 kids, 14 are doing this on Google Classroom, and I've had high participation rates, and they're really enjoying doing this work, and I could not be more proud of them.
That's great.
Yes, that's all I've got. Joe?
Sarah, first of all, I had a couple comments, if you don't mind. One, you have one of the best backdrops I've seen of any presenter. That's awesome. What sort of positive feedback have you gotten from your students and parents about this new way they're doing school with you?
Yeah, so a lot of my students who I was very worried about, that are a little bit more squirmy or have more behavioral episodes in the classroom, have amazed me, because they're the ones that are having the most success with this. It's totally blown my mind, and it's really changed my mindset of maybe this is something I need to implement more in the classroom when I get back. Because in my head, if I let a kid choose who maybe struggles with behavior, it's just innate, I think, in our bodies, that if you're letting them go and choose what they want to do and they're having fun or whatever, that's like a reward for that behavior. But I'm really seeing that when they get to choose, and then maybe they need to take a few minutes of a break, that's something that they actually need, and that helps them be successful more so than just rewarding a behavioral episode. So I've been really impressed by that, and just they've become more motivated internally with being able to choose their own structure. So that choice board, I really like the idea of taking that back into the classroom, maybe letting them choose their own science, what order they want to do their science or their writing in the week. Because at the end of the day, as long as it's getting done and they're doing their best and having fun with it, I don't care what day it gets done. I just want them, learning. So it's been really great to see that. And the parents have had positive comments on how they really appreciate that we put everything into one document, and maybe their other students from different schools or different grade levels haven't had that experience. So just everything being in one place, they've said it's been super.
I think that is great that you did that. That has been, we hear some of the concerns, and that is one, is like, there's too many different places to go. And those teachers and teams that have found ways to keep it in one place, very beneficial. So, and I agree on the choice, giving students choice. Hopefully that's a great thing that every teacher is going to take away from this. And when we return, it'll be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so if we move along, because we do have 4 other
Great.
people to
Sure.
speak for our little 30 minutes, and we are going to talk about all of these speakers kind of highlight a lot of those components that you're talking about around student voice and choice and how they're communicating with parents. So Danielle Krogan, who is a middle school math teacher at the Marion Seymour School, has been sharing with us, but she's not able to get on today. So I believe Maddie Shepard is going to step in and talk about Danielle's work.
Yep, Danielle's had some technical difficulties today, but no worries, we will press on. So Danielle teaches middle school math, and her team has a very... Maddie, I was able to get on. Yay! I just got it to work from... I know, I just got it to work from Derek's phone, so sorry for my delay.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Okay. Yeah, it was technical difficulties, but I don't know where you started, but I'll just pick up with my part. So our main focus at Moore in 7th grade math and my team in general was helping teachers, parents, students all stay organized while also keeping students engaged with voice and choice throughout our NTI time. So the first thing that we talked about was having a team set of teachers, was keeping everybody on the same page and making sure we were participating in one class. So I created this Google Sheets with check boxes that has a list of all of our student names. So that way we can check in with students that are completing work or not completing work. For example, student number 1, you can see didn't check in during week 1 or week 2 of NTI. So we reached out specifically to them over and over until they were able to at least eventually during week 3 start getting at least one assignment turned in. We also indicated on student 11, those students that were receiving paper packets, to make sure that one of us could check in with them on a regular weekly basis to see if they needed help with anything from the JCPS choice boards. And really this helped us keep up with our students to make sure they were being marked present. Even if they weren't specifically completing our work, they were still at least checking in and trying to do something. And then our next part was to make sure that parents were staying on the same page. So I created this Google Slides that has all 4 of our subject and content areas on one slide that parents can see. And they're all hyperlinked, and it was really helpful for parents to see every subject in one screen, so that way they didn't have to check back and forth through our Google Classrooms to try to find individual assignments. And then if they wanted more specifics, those are all hyperlinked from each subject area too. And then finally on organization, we posted on our Google Classroom a student checklist to keep up with all of their materials that they needed to get turned in. And we broke it down by subject area so they can just put a check mark in there whenever they completed something. And this wasn't anything that we graded, just simply for students to stay organized. And for our math department, to keep students engaged, we decided to use our own variation of the student choice board and giving students a lot of options in how they wanted to learn and move on with our materials. So option 1, students had the Khan Academy option where they could watch instructional videos and do the practice there. Khan Academy is a great resource. And then also as our 7th grade math PLC, we created instructional videos from our team, and students were able to use the different methods that we talked about in class. For option 2, students could watch those teacher videos and then complete some IXL topic areas connected. And then option number 3, students could watch those same video from the teachers And then they had the option of doing kind of like a story or game mode type review to get them through as well. With the story mode reviews, I also created some interactive websites for students. So during weeks 1 and 2, students reviewed all of the IM units 1 through 6 that we covered prior to going on our coronacation, as I call it, at school. But they were, I don't know if we have time.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to mute myself because I can hear my dogs barking. About you.
Technical difficulties today. These are interactive websites, and students were given worksheets to follow along. And I know Maddie really likes the Harry Potter one, so I'm sure she's going to click on that one. So I created these interactive websites, and each tab or page that student visit is a review of each unit that we covered prior to it. So the first one that she clicked on here is Green God's Bank, and something that we cover in 7th grade is changing from positive and negative numbers using a number line. So if you know anything about Harry Potter, you know that the vaults go really far down into the ground, and then they also have a bank above ground level. So using that change in elevation to represent positive and negative numbers were one of the things that I pointed out specifically. And then the second huge thing in 7th grade math is applying percentages to real world context. So I created a shopping list where students have to go shopping at Diagon Alley and buy different materials and things they need for the upcoming school year. And then they have a coupon page where they have to apply percentages for discounts and coupons, and also apply taxes for the different stores. And like I said, applying percentages is something huge in 7th grade that they learn how to do, especially applying to real world context as well. And my fantasy world context too, I guess.
That is amazing. I bet your kids love that. My kids would like to do that right now. Very cool.
Yeah, they really, really enjoyed it, especially the Fortnite one. I can't tell you how many of my 123 students did the Fortnite review, because that's what all middle schoolers love right now.
Yes, they do. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm glad that worked out for you to get on and share your work with us. I love hearing how you are engaging your students with things that interest them and giving them choice. Next, we're going to move to an ELA example from Frederick Olmsted Academy South. I believe Sarah Bryant is on the line.
Yes, thank you. So at OAS, we decided to make the choice boards provided by JCPS our primary focus of NTI. So regardless of whether a student is in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, and regardless of their access to technology, the requirement is the same for all students. They're expected to read for 20 minutes a day and complete 4 choice board activities a week, in addition to their related arts work. We're using this system to simplify communication and to make sure that all students are receiving high-level quality instruction. In addition to this overall requirement, we've created an OAS extension site, which allows students to engage in learning on their own terms. Teachers have created special Google Classrooms to host what are essentially like after-school clubs. Students can freely choose topics that interest them, regardless of what grade level they're in and what teacher is hosting the club. This allows us to build relationships across all grade levels, and it increases student engagement because they're choosing the activity they want, and they're even allowed to tell a teacher that they think we should host a club just like at normal school. So how does the choice board requirement work? We go on to the next slide. Each week, grade levels divide the activities on the weekly choice board by core content area. And then PLCs work together to create scaffolding materials, models, and lessons for each activity that they're sponsoring. So for example, on choice board number 2, one of the activities that ELA sponsored in 8th grade was an activity called Poem or Song Lyrics Analysis. So my PLC, since we were sponsoring this activity, we each had a spot for this activity to be turned in our Google Classroom. And then attached to that, we had the rubric, a Think Aloud model, and then scaffolding materials to support them. But yeah, we broke it down step by step. And this is a model that I created. And there's a video attached in the first slide there that shows like how to actually go through and do it. Let's see. So the single point rubric that we use, that was really beneficial. That was Miss Erin Yates' idea. And that helped us to provide stronger, effective feedback because it gave us the ability to hone in on our essential standards and what we were looking for in particular. So even when the activities were focused on music or health, which my PLC and I have no formal training on, we're able to establish clear expectations that still align to our content area standards. So the interdisciplinary choice boards give students the opportunity to see how their skill sets in other classes apply across all content areas. There are many benefits to this system, but overall, I think the three best are that it allows teachers to experience that interdisciplinary model, like working with different activities. And we might not have had the opportunity, or like we might have been more hesitant to do that if we weren't given this this experience. So also, we have been able to become experts on just a few activities each week, which I think improves our instruction. But there's still an ample amount of student choice because they have nearly a dozen activities to choose from each week. But the teachers are, really focused on just a few, which allows us to be more effective in our feedback and allows us to produce stronger scaffolding and models. We're also able to be just as engaged in the work that students are doing at home without technology because it's the same work that students are doing digitally. So when we talk on the phone or when they call a friend to work on an assignment together, the expectations are achievable and clearly set across the board. As far as implications for future lesson design, we've touched on several of these points, but I did just want to mention a few. Student self-pacing. The feedback we're getting from students is that being able to work at their own speed and check in when they really need help is really working for them. Now, as a teacher who regularly utilizes the workshop model, I'm trying to figure out what works in the NTI setting that doesn't work in the classroom. And I think the difference is just being surrounded by your peers, which I can completely understand. But I'm not sure yet how we counter that. In the classroom, I think it's probably going to involve having like Google Meet office hours after school where they can kind of catch up if they got off task in the classroom. Standards-based grading is the way to go. Technology 101, we need to be really intentional with making sure that all of our students know how to use the technology and the resources that are available within it. Opportunities for self-expression, build engagement. And finally, the relationships are everything. Even more than just students will work for you when they know you care. We also need to help them build a positive relationship with their learning and help them find their own why.
Great. Thank you, Sarah, for all of that. So we've seen a couple of themes running through the three teachers we've heard from so far. Very interdisciplinary, student-centered, and grounded in engagement with kids. What was going to really resonate with them? And now we're going to shift to high school, which is sometimes seen as a bit more challenging. And we're going to hear from science teacher Caleb Johnson from Central High School.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Yeah, more challenging. It's tough to get people to agree on things, I feel like, in high school a lot of times, because we get so siloed and so kind of set in our ways. Like chemistry has to look this way, biology has to look this way. So the first thing we actually had to figure out at Central was, what are we going to do with NTI? There's this whole idea, so if we go to the next slide, that we have to teach all our standards, that we have to spend hours studying all the minutiae of science, all these little details. And that kind of, we have to let go a little bit so that we can really make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students. And so we settled on just continue learning. It's what we kept hearing. And so what does that look like? Well, we came up with these interdisciplinary choice boards that we have heard so much about. And I got to say, not a lot, people were a little hesitant at first, myself included. But the more I dug into it, the more I found that when I took my standard out of the center of this board and really put in a compelling question, something that was going to make my students scratch their head and think. I found that it became a lot easier to make this. I found that it provided a lot of structure for what my students wanted to do. And we'll talk about this a little later, but once again, the student interest was just unbeatable. So if we go to the next slide, you can take a look at what this compelling question kind of looks like. One of my standard boards that we would have talked about in chemistry would have been material science and how the structure and organization of the molecular level affects the properties of these things, of these compounds. And so we focus on polymers and plastics. I know a lot of people are focusing on metals if you have a metal program in your school. But the idea that I chose to focus on instead was, why is Earth's waste management in crisis? That's a tough question to answer for anybody. And it might even, ignite some future budding scientists in my students. It might ignite something in them, because this is a question that's relevant. It's real world. And so you can see just some features of this. I've got across the top, those are our high quality core instruction kind of big rocks. These are things that we say all students should be able to demonstrate by the time they graduate. So I came up with a compelling question. And then I thought about the product. How can I get my students to be advocates, to be empathic citizens, thoughtful researchers, global leaders, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where you see those little notifications, those little icons around my choice board as well. I did require one assignment, and I have suggested my students, if you want to get an A+, then you need to do 3 of these just to give breadth. They're designed to be shorter, more manageable, so that they have more options. That was in my mind. We're always just trying to make it digestible for them almost. They've got a lot going on in their lives. Students are sharing laptops, sharing things. And so I wanted to make it as functional as possible. So my next question here is, why is water so special to life on Earth, not some other substance? This would normally be a whole unit on water special properties and intermolecular forces. So I chose to tune into one thing that they'll need for biology next year, the hydrogen bonding, just so that we can just get the fundamentals and then see how it applies to all aspects of their lives. So we can take a look at just maybe one of those student exemplars up there. If we see, this is the work that they're turning in. These are just, average run-of-the-mill students, and I'm just shocked and blown away by what they've turned in. I've got a PowerPoint slide with each task on a different slide. They're drawing things, they're putting them in there. They went on a socially distant walk around their house to find examples of weathering and erosion. And like I said here, feedback is another key. These weren't perfect, but that's their starting points. There's a conversation. I would go back, I would tag things, I would comment, and ask my students to improve their work. So going forward in the future, if we go back to the slide, I am definitely looking forward to using these next year for exactly like this. I'm a scientist, I'm data driven, and I give a weekly reflection survey to try and see where my students are at, how they're coming along, whether they're feeling overwhelmed. I want to try and reach them as best I can. And this was one of the questions on there. I asked whether my choice boards were interesting and educational, and I wouldn't get that response even in a normal classroom. So I'm already thinking next year, how can I use this to further engage my students? There's over 75% said yeah. And I did not pay a student to say that quote either, promise. So yeah, I was kind of blown away by the effectiveness of this interdisciplinary approach, and looking forward to using it in the future.
I'd just like to say that all the work you all have shown today is very impressive. And I love that every single one of you has mentioned how you're going to continue forward with this when you return to the physical classroom. That's great.
All right, Suzanne, would you like to wrap us up?
Yes. So this is our final third 3 of 3 presentation around these great exemplars from the field, and we just appreciate all of these teachers being willing to share their wonderful work. And I think the 3 major takeaways that we're thinking about is how in all of these cases, schools and teachers and teams have put students and families at the center of their instructional design, their curriculum design, and just the way they're designing NTIs. They started experience, and they started with the experience of students. They considered equity, they iterated quickly, and also these teachers have shown great leadership, and they were trusted to lead this work in their schools, and they've definitely delivered for families in the community. So we just appreciate you all so much. Thank you, and we look forward to how this might look in the classroom in the coming year, and all the ways that this work can be imagined and reimagined in other classrooms, virtually and physically in our district.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I'm sure your students really appreciate what you're doing for them, the parents as well. We enjoyed, I really enjoyed that session.
Thank you.